Hey everyone, it's Nico, and welcome to episode 3. Can you believe it? It's episode 3 already of my Hidden Indies series. And in this one, we're going to be looking at 4 different games from 4 different genres. They're completely different experiences, so hopefully there's something for everyone here. And thank you to all the developers. I've gotten a few emails here and there of developers wanting me to cover their games in the series. They enjoyed what I'm doing here. So if you're a developer, feel free to reach out. I'll take a look. If I think it makes sense to have your game in one of my videos, then I'll include it. And for everybody watching, I appreciate you watching my videos. All the likes, comments, new subscribers, all that stuff is always appreciated. And if this is your first time here, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. That's my goal right now, is to hit 1,000 subscribers. So please hit that button. It would mean a lot to me. And I hope you enjoy what I show off here. Now the first game that I'm going to show is called Ugly. And this is a puzzle platformer. This one's a little bit darker in tone, since the story covers the tormented past of the main character. Now you'll work your way through different areas with plenty of puzzles. They usually culminate in a boss fight. There's secrets to uncover, and you have the main mechanic in this game for solving the puzzles is you have this mirror, and you can use the mirror to essentially, split off a shadow form of yourself, and then you can manipulate this mechanic in various ways, which I won't go into all the specifics of as to not spoil anything. But you use it, you can go on other sides of walls with it, or sometimes gravity, you can utilize gravity with it. Lots of different ways. Each world felt very unique in that it has its own kind of, I don't want to say gimmick, but its own mechanics. They're always introducing new complexities to the puzzles to keep them fresh and fun throughout the entirety of the game. It has some really well thought out boss fights that are really unique and force you to utilize the mirror mechanic to the best of your ability. And for the presentation of the game, the art is beautifully drawn. This has got hand-drawn backgrounds, and there's just a lot of detail. There's a very atmospheric soundtrack to the game that really, really comes together nicely with the visuals to make you really feel something as you play through this. It's a really enjoyable puzzle platformer. This is the absolute epitome of a hidden gem in a game that I don't see get talked about nearly enough. Not nearly enough. This is a masterpiece of an indie game, and if you're a hardcore or even if you're a novice in platformers and puzzle games, there is a hint system if you need a little bit of help, because some of the puzzles can be difficult. And if you really enjoy a challenge, even after you beat the game, there's some super difficult puzzles to really test your abilities. So this is Ugly. It's available on mobile, PC, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox, and it is worth your time. The second game for this episode is called Lysfanga, the Time Shift Warrior. And this is another one that I enjoyed playing through. And it's very unique in that it's kind of this overhead hack and slash perspective, which isn't uncommon. But what makes it really unique is the rewind feature and the way you manipulate time, and you have various remnants of yourself, and you have to clear enemies in these battlefields. It has a really strong strategy element to it that I'm not entirely sure that I can fully explain in just a few minutes. But as you go through, you have kind of these exploration segments where you'll explore an area and then you'll come upon a battlefield. And it reminds me a bit of the Mario and Rabbids games where, when you reach a battle, you have some time to kind of like scout the battlefield and kind of strategize how you want to attack it. And in this, the main goal of each of these battles is to clear all the enemies. And in order to do that, you have a very limited amount of time with each of your character's remnants. So you'll come out, you'll maybe attack and kill a few enemies, and then you'll rewind and you'll send out another one, and then you're going to want to go another way and kill a few more enemies with this one, and then another remnant. But it sounds simple, but it gets more and more complex as you go through, because there's a lot of timing that goes into it. You need to time certain enemies that might be linked together. Sometimes there's an enemy with a shield in front and you can't attack it, so with one remnant you need to attack it from the front, and then that'll distract it, so then your next remnant can come out and attack it from behind to eliminate it. There's constantly new enemies and kind of new mechanics based around timing and things like that that really make this a pretty complex game for just kind of what looks like a hack and slash. But just everything about it, I just really enjoyed. I enjoyed the story that I was being told. The art looks really great. Decent music. I really just enjoyed the environments. When I looked at the art, this is a really nice looking game. I played it on the Switch, and even on there, where I'm sure it's, you know, a lower resolution than like on PC, for example, everything just looked so nice and just was really great to explore. And you have this hub area where you can customize a little bit with different paintings. There's upgrades and different unlocks for you to earn. There's also different kind of color palette swaps for your main character, so you can kind of customize your look. This is a fun one, and again, I don't really see this talked about very much, and I'm not entirely sure why, because it seems pretty polished and also really enjoyable from what I've played. I haven't completely finished it, but I'm pretty far into it, and I've enjoyed what I've played. It is difficult, and I do think that the time mechanics is going to be one of those things that you either love or you hate. I don't really think there will be a middle ground for this one, but if it looked interesting at all to you, I would say check it out, because I'm enjoying it, and this is really unlike anything else I've ever played, to be honest. Next up, we have Elderand, which is a Metroidvania that is, yeah, I know, a Metroidvania. That's a pretty saturated genre now, but this one has like a Lovecraftian theme, and it's pretty brutal with like its gore, and it has a bit of a higher difficulty, so I think some players might find it difficult, but I wouldn't say it's like overly difficult where it's frustrating, because you can essentially grind in this. There's a lot of different gear you can acquire. There's different biomes for you to explore, and lots of fun boss fights. And there's a lot of things to both see and do in this that keeps it interesting. Best way I could kind of describe it from a gameplay perspective is this one's really reminiscent of the DS era Castlevania games, in that you have two different weapon sets that you can swap between, and you can backdash and dash to help you dodge, but it's not like a lot of modern Metroidvanias where you can dash through damage. In this, you'll take contact damage from enemies, for example. So it's more of a dodge than like, I guess it's more of a dash. It's more of a dash than a dodge, because you can't dash through projectiles. You can't dash through enemies. So it's a little bit harder and unforgiving in that sense. But it has so much variety to it with the different biomes. Plenty of different weapons. You can build out your character in different ways. You can focus on magic. You can focus on strength or dexterity. Maybe you want to use swords and daggers, or maybe you want to use like bows and ranged weapons and staffs. There's a lot of variety to it, and it tells a very interesting story. And there's lost letters you can find and learn more about the story. There's different endings, It pays homage to Castlevania in its own ways. I won't say anything more than that because it'll spoil some of the story beats. You can craft in this. There's shops. There's so much to do and see in this game that this almost feels like a must-play Metroidvania to me. It's, you know, not going to be up there with like Hollow Knight or Blasphemous or Dead Cells or something like that in terms of like being a Metroidvania. But this is a really fun one that I think a lot of people probably have never heard of. And it's available on a lot of different platforms. So, again, check this one out if it looked interesting to you. Our fourth and final game is probably going to be more of an acquired taste, and it's honestly a game I had fun with, even though I was terrible at it. And that's Spy Brothers, Pipi and Bibi's DX, which is a remake of Toaplan's Pipi and Bibi's. And it's an arcade-style game, but it does have some modern sensibilities. So your main objective is to plant bombs on each stage. It's a single-screen level design, you know, like how old arcade games are. And so you gotta plant bombs. You have like this little electricity gun thing that you can shoot out, and you can zap enemies, and you can make them fall down a level below you. And if you're on the bottommost level, they'll actually fall through the map, and that's how you get rid of them. And each world has its own kind of unique gimmicks that will keep it interesting throughout and feel fresh and fun. And you can continue in this. If you get a game over, it's not like you have to play the whole thing over like an old arcade game would be. It just resets your score, lets you continue. You can come back later and play. There's a continue option. So it's very much accessible in that regard to play it through to the end. It has more modern features, like you could change the bezels on the outside. There's different CRT filters if you want that more retro aesthetic to the visuals. It has local co-op, so you could play it with 2 players. It has multiple endings. It's pretty difficult because I had trouble with it, and I do enjoy these arcade style experiences, which is why this is on my list, but I admittedly was not very good at this one. I've been better at games, we'll just say that. So you could probably see that in some of the footage that I'm clearly not that good at this one. But it is fun. And I could see this one if you have a local friend to play it with. This could be one that's really enjoyable. You'll have some laughs. Order a pizza. Have a seat. Play some Spy Brothers, Pipi and Bibi's DX. This was a fun one. So that's it for episode 3. Those were the 4 games that I've been playing recently that I wanted to talk about and I think need a little more time in the sun. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully these games, at least one of them appealed to you and you'll grab it and enjoy it, because that's really my main goal for these videos and this series, is to help share some games with all of you and, you know, teach you about a game that you've never heard of and like, oh, that looks cool, and then you pick it up. A lot of hard work goes into these games from the indie developers that create them, so I'm sure they'd appreciate any support, even if it's just a wish list or some sort of social media interaction, whatever the case may be. But thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and hopefully I'll see you on my next video. Have a good one.